Hey everybody, so in this video we are going to start taking a look at the material on linear functions, which is section 1.2 of the functions and change notes. So I want to just start with an example where, let's say you are using a data plan for a phone, and your plan has a flat fee each month of $5, and then you're charged $2 for each gigabyte of data that you use in the month. And so we can model this cost as a function of the number of gigabytes used, which we can denote with an x. We can represent this in different ways as we've been discussing. So for example, we could present this relationship in a table below. So if we don't use any gigabytes, then we would just pay the $5 flat fee. So if x is equal to 0, then the cost would be 5. And then for each value of x, we can calculate the cost in a similar way. So for example, if x were equal to 4, then I would take the $5 flat fee and then say for each gigabyte that I use, I get charged $2. So if I use 4 gigabytes, I'm going to get charged $2 for each of those. So I would add this $8 in variable costs to the $5 in fixed costs to get $13 cost. And we would calculate the others similarly. So if I had 8 gigabytes used, I take my flat fee, $5, add to it my variable fee depending on the gigabytes, and that gives me my total cost. And just to do a couple of these so that we can try to observe the pattern and then generalize the pattern with a formula. So for 12, we would take 5 plus 2 times 12 to get 29, and so on. For 16, it would be 5 plus 2 times 16 to give us $37 cost. And so now what we'd want to do is use this model to make some general predictions. So for example, if in general we use X gigabytes of data, can we find a formula to model this relationship? And if we look at the calculations above, we can see one thing that all of these calculations have in common is we take 5 and then we're going to add to it 2 times whatever the number of gigabytes that we use. So I can replace these concrete numbers with a variable x representing how many gigabytes we use. So in general, we can express this using the following formula, that the cost is a function of x, and that function can be expressed using the expression 5 plus 2x. So this equation is just capturing the pattern of the calculations we did in the table above. It's telling us, take your $5 fixed cost and then add to it 2 times the gigabytes, add to it the variable cost based on how much data you used. So here we started with the relationship described in words up here. We were able to construct a table from those words, and in the process of constructing that table, we could generalize those calculations and come up with a formula. And one comment I'd like to make at this point is, looking at the table, what we can see, for example, is that every time we increase x by 4 gigabytes, which is how we completed this table. So when I go from 0 to 4, or from 4 to 8, or from 8 to 12, etc., we see that the output is going up by a constant amount. So I go from 5 to 13, that was a change in $8. And then when I increased from 4 to 8 by another 4 gigabytes, the output goes up by 8 again. And over here, the output goes up by 8, and the output goes up by 8. So that's one way that we can identify a linear relationship from a table, is by looking at each time we increase the input by a fixed amount, is the output increasing by a fixed amount. But we'll take a look at that relationship graphically on the next slide.